Hello and welcome to Promethean Basics menu options. In this training module, I will go through the drop-down menus and what you can do with them. So first, let's go through the File menu. Now here is where you can open new flip charts, one that you've already saved and worked on before. It's where you will save them. And you can import other files such as PowerPoints, PDFs, or even Smartboard files. So let's import a PDF first. So when I go to File, Import, and choose PDF, a box will pop up asking me where this file is located to pull it in. So since it's on my desktop, I'm going to click it and hit Open. Now this option box will pop up asking you if you want the imported document to maintain the original size, and probably you will leave that just be that way. It will usually import it to a new flip chart, or you can attach it to the beginning in one you've already worked on. Most of the time you'll just leave these options as they are and click Import. So what I have now is it imported a PDF into a new flip chart, and it maintained the aspect ratio that it actually was in its original version. So you could use this for students as an example of what they have on their worksheet at their desk. And you could have students come up and write the answers on the board. And using either a pen or a marker, you could write with a specific color all the answers. Now let's import a PowerPoint. When you import a PowerPoint, you have two options, and it depends on what you're going to use the PowerPoint for. If you have already created a PowerPoint and you like the way that it is and you don't want to edit it in any way, you need to import the PowerPoint as an image. This essentially takes a picture of each slide in your PowerPoint and throws it into a flip chart. You cannot edit anything in this format. If you have a PowerPoint that has some interaction or you want to manipulate it in a flip chart, you want to import it as PowerPoint as objects. That means it takes each piece on the slide of your PowerPoint and makes it a separate piece in each flip chart, so it can be moved, edited, and deleted, and so forth. So now that I've imported a PowerPoint as objects, I need to edit it just a little bit because I can now in a flip chart. So as you can see, my PowerPoint looks a little off. And if I zoom out a little bit, we'll see that the background goes off the side of the actual flip chart. So if I zoom out to 50%, I can see that this white box is actually bigger than the flip chart, because in the original PowerPoint, the edge of the PowerPoint was right here and right underneath the banner. These can move, so I can manipulate this in any way. I can also click and alter the whole background because it is a shape. And I can change all the components that were in my original PowerPoint and make them different in a flip chart. Now let's check out what the edit menu can do. I've created a flip chart with some various shapes on there and an image from the library. I can click on one of these shapes, click Edit, and I can transform the shape. I can have it mirror on the X or Y axis, I can have it flip on the X or Y axis, or I can make it bigger or smaller. So I made it one click bigger using the Edit menu. Now let's have it mirror on the X axis. And what it did was it flipped my shape up above it. So for the diamond, I had it flip on the y-axis. Now say I find an icon or image in the resource library and it doesn't quite fit how I want to use it on the page. For instance, the woman on the page, maybe I wanted her on the left side. And now I rotated her the other direction, and I could drag her over here to this side of the slide. Now when you click on an item on the page, you get this marquee tool at the bottom, which gives you the similar options that you may find in Edit, View, and such. It's just a quick way to do it rather than going it from the drop-down menu from the top. So if I click the little file icon in the marquee, I get this menu to pop up. So I can transform the image, I can align it, and I can cut and paste it and duplicate it on another slide if I wanted to. Now let's check out the View menu. If I scroll down to Flip Charts, it will show me a list of all the ones that I currently have open, and I could jump back and forth between here. I could also click the tabs across the top. I can also turn a page forward or backward, and I can set up my page turn effects. I can also zoom into a page, but probably the most important thing you'll use here is turning on your browsers. What your browsers actually are is further tools that you could use. Now the icons here are across the top, and they're in this side window over here. Now the first one is basically like a preview like you would have in PowerPoint. So it shows all the slides in a flip chart that I currently have. And I can click on each one to jump to that page. So this is really helpful when you have a really large flip chart where you have 20 and 30 slides that you can jump back and forth to edit. Now the resource browser, or the one with the little music icon, is stuff that's pre-built in your version of ActivInspire. You can also download resource packs and other things that are available on Promethean Planet. So if you click on the resource browser, these are pre-built icons and templates and further things you might use that are in your current version of ActivInspire. You can also download these from Promethean Planet to build your library a little bit. Now let's click down into subjects. And say we want to add another person like I have on this slide. I scroll down to subjects and I go to people, and let's put a man on the page. Now all the icons that are available in this folder will be at the bottom. Some may only have one, but some may have quite a many, and you can scroll up and down to choose the one you want. So right now this folder has 56 items in it. So let's grab this icon, and I'm going to drag it over to the flip chart. Now I can manipulate this icon or image any way I want. I can make it small, make it wide, or I could flip it on its axis like I did the previous icon. Now there's some advanced things built in here. So for example, if you wanted to add something for chemistry, like the periodic table, there's a pre-made one in here that also has quizzes attached to use the active expressions. So for example, this one, wherever you hover over, might have a quiz attached to it. Or your cursor can change and it'll tell you information about that element. So for example, if I hover over hydrogen, it will tell me the symbol and the name and other information about it. So now if I click the Uses tab on the bottom of this template and I go back to hydrogen, it'll tell me uses that are attached. And if I click on Discovery, it'll tell me who discovered it and how the name was created. If we go back to our original slide in this flip chart and we click on the Object Browser, this will show us what creates our page, what makes it up. So you can see I have text, I have the images of a woman and a man, and then I have various shapes. And it keeps track of how many shapes you put on there, how many pin marks you put on there, and so forth. So here's where you can get creative and move these objects around using your layers. There are 4 layers to each slide. The bottom, top, and middle are the ones you can manipulate. Once you put something on the background layer, it goes to the very bottom of the deck, and it can't be manipulated in that layer. So since the man was added last, he is on top of these shapes and text. So if I drag him over something else, the other things disappear behind him. So if I grab shape 5 and I drag it above him, the shape will now be on top of him. And so this is where you can get creative about hiding answers on the page or creating interactive flip charts. Now if I want to get creative and create a background in here, I go back to my resource browser, click on backgrounds, and then I can choose from these options here. I'm going to add a texture. Now the notes browser is like the PowerPoint notes section. I can type something here of something I want to remember to do when I'm on this slide. So I typed, remember to identify each shape's name. And once I've attached a note, I'll see the icon appear in the top bar. If I click on the property browser, this is where I can change the characteristics of an item. So if I select the item on the slide, I have all these options that I can change to it. And this gets into the advanced stuff when you want to make really interactive flip charts. So for instance, if I wanted to change the color of this rectangle, I can choose the color here and right click. Let's say I want to change it to gray. So I've changed the inside now to gray. Right now my shape also has sharp corners, but I could change that. If I click on the woman image, I can change how translucent it is by sliding this dial. I can also do that by sliding this sunshine icon at the bottom when you selected that image on this slide. The Action Browser has lots of actions available to attach to an item. So for instance, if I wanted to have the woman be the start of a quiz, I could attach the Stop and Start Flip Chart vote to her. So when I would click her, it would automatically start a vote to the active expressions. If I chose one of the other shapes on the page, I could attach the delete option and make that shape disappear. Now if I had text behind it, such as an answer, that's a way to hide an answer and then show it later. And finally, the active expression icon in the browser is where you would get the results, register your devices and such. Now say I created a slide where I needed extra room going down. So it may look like some of my words are actually off the page right now, but it isn't. If I go to View, Page Extender, I get this little icon at the bottom. And when I click on it, my page scrolls down a little bit. So I have some flexibility in making how long my flip charts are in a vertical sense. So if you were making a table such as this, you could keep clicking the page extender, and so all your students could contribute to the slide.